Good morning. It's the 29th of March 2023. I was just doing a bit of repair on a machine on the farm, and there came a terrible shower of rain. I couldn't get it. I had to do it outside. And so I'm just taking a break here while the rain passes over. It's very showery here in Ireland, but you can still get a lot done without getting wet if you're careful. I made an earlier video on Milton Friedman in understanding inflation, and I took it down because there were a few serious errors in it. It was made late at night and I just made mistakes and I took it down. So I'm sorry about that. Please comment again. Someone already did comment. Now, I want to make the point here that uh, we had a television at home in rural Ireland in the mid to late 60s. It was a GEC black and white television. And of course, all the usual stuff was on it, the High Chaparral, the news, lots of stuff like that. And my father would look at circuses, and I wasn't that keen on them. And there'd always be something that the parents would want to see, and you wouldn't get to see in your own programs. You know this thing yourself. Then I went out on the world and I worked with others, and I was in digs and flats and communal accommodation. And all they ever wanted was the news. And then when they saw the news, they needed to see it again. Once is enough to tell me that there's been someone died or an earthquake or someone's new government formed or whatever else. But see, other people seem to need that repeated time and time again. But in any event, the soccer and the football was big, and when I liked the Gaelic football, I wasn't mad about soccer. So I had to look at all this and it'd be there. And I kind of got to the stage where I couldn't see the programs I wanted. So as soon as I got my own house and began to settle down in life, and had my own a new house, unfurnished, I bought a fridge, a 0 watt fridge, or I got it a present for a wedding or something like that, I don't know. But anyway, there was very little furniture, and I bought a GEC colour television. A GEC colour television. And there were colour televisions that time. And of course, as soon as the colour televisions came on the scene, snooker became a very popular game, because prior to that, you couldn't see the colour of the balls. And so you had Alex Hurricane Higgins and all these guys. And but they all came and just proves like that snooker snowballed and elevated to the top of public demand. And now it's kind of gone now, really. And that just shows you how colour, how the medium affected the actual topic. But anyway, I bought a telly anyway, and I could afford the television, but I hadn't enough to put the aerial on the roof, and I had to get higher purchase, partly as an experiment. And it was 95 pounds. That'd be about 115 euros now to pay for the aerial. And then I had the aerial, and I paid that back from the higher purchase. I can't remember, but it was kind of experimental. But anyway, the higher purchase actually died out after that. I don't think it's on the go now at all. So one of the things I always remember came on it, and I could watch it then because nobody would stop me, was there was programs on astronomy, and Carl Sagan was the great person on that. He was wonderful on that. There was wildlife, of course, with David Attenborough and all of that stuff. There was Jacques Cousteau with the Undersea World and the yacht Calypso. And there was we had some fella here, can't think of his name. He was a Dutch name, but he used to do Wild Ireland, or do a lot of filming of birds and that around Ireland. Can't think of him just right now. I'll post it underneath. But anyway, the thing about it was there was also programs on finance and economics. And I always got a kind of bad press from my comrades and that for studying economics and reading books on it. And yet in America, it's the whole go. They'd say you had money. I don't think you have to have money to study anything. Sure, if that was the way, you couldn't study medicine unless you were a fully qualified millionaire or something. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's the way people are. Anyway, one character came on, it was Milton Friedman, and he lived to be 94, and he died in 2006. And he was an American, he was Jewish origin, I think, New York. But he was an American financial professor, and he was what's known as a monetarist. So his name is here, Milton Friedman. Now, he had several programs, but he had one in particular, and it's still on YouTube, and I want to highly recommend it to you. It's about 15 minutes long, but I know you may tune over and say, I haven't time to watch that. Fair enough. I'm going to show you a clip from it, because it began to form the way I was thinking. What he was saying made perfect sense to me, but nobody else seemed to agree. Now, it was diluting and weakening the amount of gold and silver in the currency that helped to bring down Rome. And in Henry VIII's England, it was one of the most severe penalties if you were caught filing pieces of the coinage. So the coinage was very important to have it right, and it was very important to understand that it was of value and it was related to gold and silver because it was scarce. When the Spanish went over and conquered Latin America and South America, and the brutality they imposed on the unfortunate natives there is just unbelievable. They killed 5,000 in one day. I think it were the Incas, but they grabbed all the gold and they brought it home to Spain, and it caused a devaluation of gold. Everyone had gold. The result was people wouldn't sell you stuff for gold, and it took a long time for that to feed through. So that was a type of inflation. But the usual inflation is the government printing money. Usually, one of the hallmarks of government is it can print money. And in all of the, before independence in Ireland, it was the United Kingdom government printed the pounds, shillings and pence for our country, Ireland. And now it's their own government, and then that moves on to the EU. But seems to be always somebody who can print money and create a fiat currency. Now it must be remembered that the US dollar was a currency under the Bretton Woods Agreement linked to gold until 1971, when Richard Nixon decided to take it off the gold standard. But it is not and hasn't been a full fiat currency. It's actually linked to oil. And he did a deal with Saudi Arabia to give them defense, and they'd make the dollar the main currency, the reserve currency for oil dealing. And up until recently, you couldn't buy oil on the world market without dollars. And it didn't matter how rich or poor your country was. You might be a rich country and you might be poor. You couldn't buy your oil till you convert into American dollars. The result is that the amount of American dollars in the world is about twice what it is in the US alone. So it's not only the currency of America, it's the currency of a big part of the world. That's currently under attack because they weaponize the dollar. And also a lot of countries want to get out from this because they don't know when they'll be sanctioned or what will be done. But the big problem is that the United States is printing money like there's no tomorrow. Every single challenge, no matter what it is, and the latest one is the banks, they just print money. Now remember, there's only three ways the government can get money. That's tax, borrow or print. Tax, borrow or print. And so the paper currencies are just pieces of paper. They are a little bit at the moment backed to buy oil in the United States, only slightly so, well, they're somewhat. But anyway, the main point is there are many currencies in the world which are not backed by anything, and they're just the strength of the government itself. And because there's elections, the government here will offer more. This party will offer more than that one, and the more one party offers, the voters, the more they'll vote for them, because the voters don't have a clue how it's damaging their economy overall. Now I want to show you the start of the video from Milton Friedman, and I want to show you the key bit, and then we'll finish off. So just give me a pause here now. Now the video is Understanding Inflation by Milton Friedman. I'm going to hit the button here, folks, and you'll see the little flag thing at the beginning, so you'll know it. So you see that? Understanding Inflation. So that's the one, and free to choose. Now, he comes up.
Sierra Nevadas in California, 10,000 feet above sea level. In the winter, temperatures drop to 40.
So now you know the video you need. He goes on there to explain how that town, Bodie in America, developed with gold, and then it just fell through when there was no gold. But I'm not going to ask you to look at it all. I'm going to move now to a place, and I'm going to show you and ask you to look at either the whole video or this piece. Now you go 11.5 minutes into the video, and that's nearly the end of it. And now in that in that he's in Washington, he's in the place to print the money where the big printing press is like a baler or like a woolen mill or in England or something way back. It makes all that noise and it's printing these dollar notes there to beat the band, and you can hear the rattles going on. So now he's going to explain a little bit, and I'll play it for you here now, and hopefully wait till it's done, and then I'll wind up.
Inflation in the United States, or for that matter, anywhere in the world, is because these pieces of paper and the accompanying book entries, or their counterparts in other nations, are growing more rapidly than the quantity of goods and services produced. The truth is, inflation is made in one place and one place only, here in Washington. This is the only place where there are presses like this that turn out these pieces of paper we call money. This is a place where the power resides to determine how rapidly the amount of money shall increase. What happened to all that noise? That's what would happen to inflation if we stopped letting the amount of money grow so rapidly. This is not a new idea. It's not a new cure. It's not a new problem. It's happened over and over again in history. Sometimes inflation has been cured this way on purpose. Sometimes it's happened by accident. During the Civil War, the North, late in the Civil War, overran the place in the South where the printing presses were setting up, where the pieces of paper were being turned out. Prior to that point, the South had had a very rapid inflation. If my memory serves me right, something like 4% a month. It took the Confederacy something over 2 weeks to find a new place where they could set up their printing presses and start them going again. During that 2-week period, inflation came to a halt. After the 2-week period, when the presses started running again, inflation started up again. It's that clear, that straightforward.
Now, that's basically what he says, and I agree. This thing that the unions cause inflation, this thing that is the oil increase. Recently in Great Britain, our inflation rate from the consumer pricing index of 10.5%, or roughly that of 10.5 or 6, was announced. The response of the Bank of England was surprise. So the response of the Chancellor, we're surprised. Yet they printed that 10.5% money because there is only one place where sterling is printed, and that's in London. And they printed that money, or somewhere in England, they printed that money and they let it out there whatever way. They either print it and let out the cash, or they create loans and they let it out that way, and then they claim it back afterwards. It doesn't matter. That money is there because it's available, and it's made available by the British government and the Bank of England, and they are lying and they're not telling the truth when they say they're surprised. How can they be surprised? It's the same in America. The Silicon Valley Bank is bailed out by printing, and the result is the value of money is going down the tubes. There's a bridge built near me here, and I do a lot of construction work, but I think it would now cost today around 20,000. That's not including VAT, a value-added tax or sales tax or anything like that, but that's just basic products and labour and all that. And I think that bridge would cost 20,000. It cost £20 sterling. It cost £20 sterling, roughly about 23 euros by today's money in 1913. In 1913, it cost £20 sterling. A man by the name of Lynch built it using pick and shovels and using wood as the casing for the concrete. The tracks of the boards are still in the concrete. Okay, so you're looking there at about 1,000 times the difference in the price. When the Irish state was created in 1923, 33 euros worth lost then and found now would only buy €1. In 1973, it would take €23 lost and found now would only buy €1. I was in the Reserve Army, the FCA in Ireland, and the soldiers' pay was £6, 5 and twopence, about €7 for a week. My father was an electrician, an auto electrician in Gypsum Industries, and I collected his pay one time. He was ill after an accident, and his pay was 17 and and a half pounds Irish. That'd be about £18 now, 18 and a half pounds, or 18 and a half euros right now. So you see how rapidly the inflation has taken place. 10.5% would whittle away the value of your money very, very soon. But the main point there is, if you want to look at that video on YouTube, that's a very old video. That video could be maybe 1970, I'd say 78, maybe around that, but maybe 79. But I don't know. But I know it, and I saw him, and he presses the button, and that's the key. Don't ever listen to anything else. It's all lies about what causes inflation. It's this, that, and the other. The government gets spooked, or they have some great idea, wonderful idea, and there's an election coming up, and they print a load of money and they throw it into the economy. And what do you expect to happen? Only the value of the money drops. That's inflation. That's what it's caused. They say it doesn't matter. Well, I don't really know. Certainly somebody buying a house at €100,000 today will in a year only owe 90,000 on it by right, because if wages goes up, it'll be less, so their mortgage will decline. So over 10 years, that 100,000 if borrowed would be whittled down. You'd be getting twice the pay almost, and that does affect and benefit, and that benefited me in buying my first house. I remember that it did benefit me, and it left it easier to pay for your house. Having said that, it's a twist and a thwart of the economy, and it generally does not end well. So that'll do, folks. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I think I have everything right in this. Milton Friedman, Understanding Inflation. The key bit is how he shows how to stop it. You stop printing money except to the value of the goods and services being produced, and to replace worn out notes and all of that stuff. That is how a good economy should be run. The EU agreed to only have 2% inflation. They're way over that. They printed billions and billions and all the rest. No point talking about how much of it. We are in funny times, but it's important to understand that. Government prints money, that causes the devaluation of the money, and deflation is the reverse. If you pull money out, then take money out, then the value of your money will go up. But ideally, the money should stay stable. And it makes it awful hard to judge what you should pay for something. If you're buying a store, bullock at the moment in the mart, I mean, next year he could be worth a lot more in euros. I remember buying 2 cattle in the Irish punt time for $3.99 in Kingscourt Mart this time of year in April, I think it was around. And I almost doubled my money. I got very close to doubling my money. I think I got $6.99. I paid $3.99. But I made a lot of money, but it was inflation. The price was going up. I didn't really benefit, but it did hedge against inflation. And in today's mad inflation, buying cattle, if you could, is one way to try and fend it off. Folks, that's it. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and do look at Milton Friedman there. It's only 16 minutes about. Very entertaining, very good video, even if it is old. Bye bye.